and good morning. I'm Shadow Spectre 11, and welcome to the Snowbirds meeting room. I didn't do one last week. I was going over some things, looking at some issues in the game, and taking a little chill pill on it while I was thinking about how the game is affecting people in my organization and myself. So today I'm going to go over some of the last week's news and check out some stuff, make sure everything is working in the game later today. Seeing what's working, what's not, and things of that nature. As you know, the ISC for the server meshing came out, and it was pretty interesting. And also, the Jump Point magazine hit, and it was pretty interesting with the Ironclad. So I'm gonna switch over, and here we go.
Roger that, flight. I'm good.
So to start off, I'm gonna go through the ISC, skip over some parts, like commercials and stuff like that, but there was pretty interesting information, and this is a 23-minute one, which was actually really good. I was pretty much intrigued by it because it was a little bit more in depth than what we usually get. Now, I've been in some of the tech previews, but not the one where they did the jump through the gate. And I do try to get on every tech preview that comes out. I was definitely on the Pyro one, which they ran for quite a bit of time, and it was interesting to go there. I did stream it, so just so you know, it is on the my main channel if you would like to check it out. But here we go.
The Core Technology Group. Bunch of big brains found in all 5 of our studios. These are the folks that have been working to expand Star Citizen beyond the limitations of the traditional client-server model, to distribute what would have been the work of a single server across many. This work has many parts, but the collective name for all the technologies that allow this to happen we call simply server meshing. Beginning late last year, the newly created Tech Preview channel was used for a series of tests. And while the work of server meshing is that of our entire development staff, toiling in concert with the Core Technology Group, we asked members of the small but dedicated UK networking team to speak on their behalf. This is Dev Diary Server Meshing.
Patriot Power Generator
And here we
2000X
go.
is only 18 inches long, 13 inches wide.
Yeah, that was a nerve-wracking one for us because it was the first time, going out public with such a big fundamental change for how we run the game.
Replication layer network code split out from the dedicated game server, running in its own service we call the hybrid service.
So these tests are not just for us in Cortec. These are also for the game side as well, so they can actually see their systems functioning along with server meshing. It's kind of one cohesive whole.
So that was the first time trying to deploy that kind of environment, which is radically different from what we've had to do before. One of the major purposes of Tech Preview is to expose the game to a much wider audience so that the rest of the development team can see more of their work exposed, really help us pick up on all the little corner and edge cases that we don't necessarily spot if we only have a handful of people testing.
So it's really good to, have other development teams look at the tech from, a development perspective and on a live environment as well.
In Alpha 3.18, we introduced the replication layer, our first major milestone towards server meshing.
And we all know 3.18 was the roughest patch that I ever encountered in my time playing SC. I started in 3.15, and that I have to say, it was rough. What we are experiencing now in 3.23 is nothing compared to what we experienced in 3.18. There are issues in 3.23 that a lot of people have come up against and gotten seriously frustrated with, myself included. But this is a breeze compared to what we experienced in 3.18. So I can only say that 23 is a good patch compared to 18. So here we go.
It offloaded the entire state of the universe, things like characters, ships, weapons, and more, away from the game server, which we call the DGS. It wasn't the smoothest process, but the work of splitting the replication layer to be shared between the client and DGS into a new hybrid service still needed to be done, as was testing of a brand new server crash recovery system that was long overdue. These would be the focus of our first 2 tech preview tests, and everyone was excited to learn everything we could with help from the community.
Basically, we learned that it worked.
Went surprisingly well for us.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah, good job. It works.
We learned that, the technology was working kind of as we expected. It was surprising how well it actually worked.
For the backers, the major change that they would have observed through these tests was the improvement for server crash recovery. So the first outing with server crash recovery, we were talking 25, 30-minute recovery times, frequent crashes all over the place.
It's almost like we're pulling the tablecloth out from underneath everybody at once. So it requires people to make some interesting considerations and kind of shimmy that tablecloth back underneath with the new server.
So if the server crashes, the game state still survives. We can spin up another server, and when it connects again, the new server connects again. It can get all the game state back, and clients can continue on their merry way.
Basically server meshing for game code all at once in one big giant transition.
But I think by the time we were getting to this, second and third tests, we're starting to see things dramatically quicker and dramatically more reliable.
Yeah, I think I was probably expecting it to explode. Yeah, pretty hard. But we were surprised that the game code worked as well as it did without needing changes.
Backers have a way of finding and breaking things. So yeah, having a good few hours testing in backers' hands in a more or less real-world environment was incredibly valuable.
Of course, this is still game development, and these were tests, not just for the core technology group, but for every other dev team to see just how much work they still had ahead of them. Work that continues today, adapting all of Star Citizen's various game systems to the realities of server meshing.
We found that there were some gameplay systems that weren't quite ready for server crash recovery, that could cause some issues when a server crashes and one takes its place. So that kind of allowed us to kind of create a bunch of bugs and send them out to various gameplay teams.
What's cyclical crashing?
Basically, when the server then tries to recover, start back up, it would then deserialize the state that we had stored previously, and the state itself was corrupt, so it would just crash, and it would just keep trying. Pretty annoying. A lot of people were like, let's turn off server crash recovery, that's the problem, when actually, no, it wasn't the problem. It was just the state it was in. When it is working, it works very well.
Star Citizen is a large, complex game. Every little bit of it across core tech and the actual game system has to function perfectly for server meshing to work. The test allowed us to point to parts of the code where things didn't function, so we could go back to the game teams and say, you need to go back and you need to rework this particular system.
Being able to allow the replication layer to kind of soak is kind of how we were able to get it from basically having things work for the first time to a production-ready product.
Making sure that we were in a good state so that we could progress with the next set of tech preview tests.
It had worked twice now?
Yes, yeah, the overconfidence was starting to grow, yes.
With 2 successful trials in the can, the team broke for the holidays, returning in January with more tests, more fixes, more bugs to discover, and even improvements to the very manner in which we collected and analyzed data itself.
At this point now, it's not only about just getting server crash recovery working, but we're really starting to see changes come in from the game teams for the various systems that interact with it. So from those early tests, people would have seen a loss of state for certain systems or things that just didn't recover well. If you ended up in a weird condition where, let's just say, you were in the middle of respawning during a server crash.
But this is when we were noticing, a lot of major spikes, and a player tries to interact with a door or a ship or tries to pick up something, and they could be waiting several minutes for something to actually happen. But then it was also other game code as well. Other teams, send in sort of like serialized variables and messages across the network. Some of them were being sent twice, which obviously is not ideal, because if we're sending messages twice, we only need to send it once. Then we've got 2 messages being sent, which is, the backlog or the queue is just going to get busier a lot quicker. So between now and then, data, analytics, metrics, making sure that the development team have the information that they need when they request it as well, and having our back-end dashboard set up so information is correct and not incorrect, because we don't want to provide incorrect results.
We're starting to see fixes for those kind of strange cases start to come in. So the overall experience at this point now would have been much more solid.
Nespresso presents a summer that goes on and on and on.
At this point, after a series of necessary wins and a reconfiguration of our analytics dashboard, with clients and servers now both connecting to the hybrid service, ready to put an end to the DGS crashes causing players to get disconnected, it was time to move to the next major milestone.
Now, we've all seen the server errors and things of that nature, and every once in a while there is a 30K where we get disconnected, and it still happens, but it's very rare in the PU, the live. In PTU and different things like that, where they're still working on stuff, it does still happen. The last tech preview where they did a server meshing test, day 1 was rough and it did crash, where we had problems with the server. Day 2, it was much better. There were server errors, or like 9 on the one that I was on while I was doing the server meshing test, but they did recover and it actually was working very well. I think it was a couple weeks ago that when I did a Snowbirds meeting room, that I did show that the whole C was actually working, and did some other stuff. So, yeah. It's getting better, and we'll go from there. I mean, that's all we can do. One step at a time.
Testing configurations of multiple DGSs connected to the same hybrid service. Or, put simply, our first true server mesh.
The next milestone in our tech preview testing was February 29th, which was the first time that we attempted to have 2 solar systems running on 2 DGSs connected to the same hybrid service, and clients basically able to connect through them, choose which solar system they wanted to play in, and go and play.
So this one was the big surprise. So we were really excited to finally get multiple DGSs and multiple solar systems out there into the hands of the backers for testing. And also this was a huge milestone for the platform teams, because it's their first time having to deploy a full-on server mesh with multiple DGSs out to our live environment. That was a super exciting test.
We were still had the single hybrid, which for us, having a single hybrid manage the state of multiple servers was a huge, huge milestone. And with those, there may have been some bugs, some interestingness. Being able to see crash recovery actually occur and then succeed on the Pyro server really proved to us that we're kind of getting to that kind of milestone point.
We had tried it internally first, but yeah, with the tech previews, it tends to be pretty hot. What you see is the build that we've created the day before. It's kind of a bit of a wing and a prayer to hope that it is actually going to work. We got a lot of data about our performance, and it all seems to be holding up pretty well.
You keep saying surprisingly well. Were you expecting this to just fall on its face?
Yes, I've been working in games a long time, and for things to work first time is very unusual. So yeah, I was fully expecting something to explode and for us to have to patch something up.
A little bit of anxiety, I feel, with teams that we never tried anything quite like this before, and the tech might not actually cope with it, and then we might have to cancel the test. Things, thankfully, went really, really, really well. Generally speaking, when we tested server meshing stuff out, it's tended to behave better than people expected at the time. So yeah, we've kind of gotten lucky with some of this stuff.
However, as awesome as it was to finally see 2 star systems running on the same DGS, there was still one last-minute disappointment for every member of the team.
Unfortunately, we had a last-minute issue with the jump points. That meant they weren't quite going to make it for that test.
Originally, we were trying to make it so that the jump gates were functional, and you could have done solar system transitions via the jump gates. We didn't manage to make that in time.
I remember being very upset that jump points decided not to work at the last minute. But there was an issue with the jump points where if someone used it, the radius to pull in people from the server to go to Pyro was essentially the size of the universe. So if you used the jump point, everyone in Stanton was going to Pyro whether they wanted to or not.
And so you had to, so how did you enforce people not using it?
I don't actually remember. I think it was just said, no, don't.
And the people behaved?
If I remember, only one person tried it and it broke, so nothing happened, which, very lucky.
And then, only a week later, on March 7th, the first successful test of a jump point-assisted server transition occurred.
For us in the UK, the tech preview releases tend to go out like 11 midnight kind of time. And I stayed up and hopped on to kind of give it a look, and the excitement that we had from being able to like actually see us, like thousands of players in a queue, jump through the jump points, and for things to work with minimal issues is a very exciting time for us.
I sat by the Pyro jump gate, watching the first backers come through from Stanton. Myself, a whole bunch of the team were online watching that happen. Amazing to see it, kind of culmination of years of work by dozens of teams and hundreds of people.
I remember being really happy because everyone was thrilled. All the backers were really thrilled that they actually saw it themselves. I remember the players going through the gate and smashing into each other on the other side. They would just come out of the gate and somebody would be parked there from having just come through. They would crash into each other. They would spin out. It was really funny.
Yeah, it was pretty great having people actually be able to do it, something they'd been waiting for God knows how long.
Seeing people actually use the jump gates for the first time, that was like really exciting. That I think brought home to the community at large that this was actually server meshing, that we're actually doing the real tech here and it actually works. And yeah, we knew it all along, but yeah, it told everybody else that, yeah, we're doing the real deal here.
Yeah, I knew it would.
Oh, you knew it would work?
In that run-up, we tested nothing but the jump gates, because that was our focus, so.
UA is so cynical that if they say it worked,
it's gonna
you
work,
believe,
yeah.
right.
It's gonna work.
That worked. And with these first successful tests now having proven out the project's ability to simultaneously operate 2 star systems across 2 DGSs on a single shard, the time was fast approaching to test the other core functionality of server meshing technology, the subdivision of an entire star system across multiple servers.
We've done the jump gates, so we focused on just having the Stanton system again, but this time we split the Stanton system between multiple DGSs.
It's super exciting now to finally deliver on what I think a lot of people's vision of server meshing is, which is a single solar system being divided into multiple areas that are all being managed by multiple DGSs.
We were once again really nervous about how this is going to work. The subdivision of Stanton up into multiple servers is technically a risky thing to do.
So the way that we did that is we kind of carved up the Stanton solar system into what we call territories, and then we'd assign those territories to different numbers of DGSs. And while we were doing that, we also tried increasing the player cap. We tried 2 DGSs, 200 players, 3 DGSs, 400 players, 4 DGSs, 400 players, and then we just decided to go a bit nuts, and we tried 6 DGSs and 800 players. And that was...
Now, I don't know. I can't remember. There was one that was the Evocati test, if I'm correct, and that's the one where the jump gate was being tested. So I wasn't involved in that, and I wanted to do the jump, but I did get in one where I actually saw the jump gate actually working, and I did take screenshots of it, and I even tried it, because what happened was I got to it and I tried to see how it would work, what you had to do to get the ship to jump. Even though it wasn't working to go into Pyro, I was able to use the jump drive and things like that, and it was kind of cool. I'm gonna lie, I was excited for it. So yeah, it did work to a point, but I wasn't involved where it actually took you through the gate and into Pyro.
Really to stress the system, test server crash recovery, and kind of, yeah, get all the performance information about how the hybrid service is able to handle these higher numbers of DGSs and higher numbers of players.
And seeing 800 players in a shard and seeing the screenshots on Reddit, very exciting to see that what we had made was capable of that, though there's certainly improvements to be made.
We actually exposed a bug during that one where you would drop out of quantum travel right at the transition point.
When someone would transition across that border, they would just vanish. So yeah, it made it very obvious where the borders are.
All the backers were like, oh, we know where the server boundaries are.
That was accidental, but it provided us a fantastic testing opportunity, because people could really hammer all sorts of crazy conditions at the boundary to see you know, shooting other ships across the boundary and all throwing cargo boxes across and watching it all largely work.
Shooting across it, EVAing across it, lots of testing that we weren't really expecting to get out of that actually happened. And for the most part, it held up really well.
Thinking about a career in digital marketing and e-commerce? Get the skills to get the job with Google Career Certificate.
This configuration of star systems, broken up into multiple territories, each containing one or more parts of the playable space like a planet or moon, distributed between whichever number of DGSs are available, and spreading the simulation workload across all the DGSs in the mesh, is what will one day allow us to seamlessly move or transition players throughout the galaxy without immersion-breaking loading screens. But with this first series of tests now completed, it was time to step back and ready the replication layer split and server crash recovery for Alpha 3.23.
You know, I watch a lot of streamers and videos, and everyone was really, really happy. And that makes me happy. That makes me motivated to do my job.
When the RL split went out in 3.23, we didn't see too many problems. And things seem to be working very, very well. And I believe that's largely can be attributed to the amount of testing that we've done, kind of leading up with the backers and with the public.
When general QA was testing it, when they first got their eyes on it, they basically, you could hear a pin drop when they were testing it. It was so quiet. People were so worried about it. And then when it...
Okay, so we're in 23 now with the replication layer split. It is working. There are issues still with it. A lot of people are still having problems, but it is a work in progress, and it is pretty intensive. So it's a day-by-day process of going through the motions to do things, to try and do things in the game. For new players especially, when they did the back-to-back events. Hey, Kinzer, what's up, man? With the back-to-back events, we saw a lot of server issues and a lot of problems, a lot of slowage, a lot of lag. I don't know exactly how else to put it. There were problems, and I did do when we were going through the Invictus launch week. There were a lot of ships laying around. It was causing a lot of lag issues, things popping up, and you have to expect that. You have to expect some things to not work well in the way things were going. So all in all, 23 on its very first day, worked very, very well. They had a problem. They were working on getting it set up for Invictus launch week, and when it did drop, day one was good. When you go into the halls, of course, you're going to get a little bit of some lag catching up and things like that. So once it was settled out and everything rendered for you, it was a good experience. Then when we went to Xenothreat day one, it was rough, and there were a lot of issues. A lot of people were having problems. There were some that were getting like a slideshow. I was one of them, and we had to endure. And once it was over, there were still some problems. So there were a few hot fixes and things of that nature to bring it up and get it better. So finally, after Xenothreat was over with and hot fixes came down, things have started to smooth out. There's still some issues, there's still some problems, but it's gotten better. So now we're waiting on 24. 24 is in the works, and it is in Evocati, and they, from the recent patch notes, they've enabled the cargo missions. So I'll go over the patch notes momentarily.
The test was over, they were flawed, essentially. They didn't realize that tech had already been put into the game, and it was actually pretty incredible that it worked so well.
The server recovery stuff was always something we have to get into Star Citizen to make the whole thing work. The crash recovery stuff required a lot of work on the game team side of things just to make sure that their systems is compatible, so that when we do have the crash recovery, their systems will recover along with the actual server.
It's a testament to our approach to all of this with Tech Preview, with getting all of this out into the hands of the backers super early. It's given us an environment and a place to mature this tech. So at the time that we came around to delivering it for real in the live release with 3.23, we had really good confidence that it was going to work, that it was going to be a good experience, and I think for the large part, that's been true.
With Alpha 3.23 now out, there's still work to be done, and a new series of trials have already begun by the time this episode airs.
Between now and 4.0, we've got a lot of work to do, both on the tech side of things within Core Tech Group, with the teams who are actually working on server meshing. There's a lot of work to do on the game side of things. We've got to work with the game teams very, very closely. Pretty much every system in the whole game is affected by server meshing to some extent.
More tech previews in the lead up to 4.0. That should help us harden like some subdivision, multi-system split, and kind of see where we can kind of push things.
Every time they bump up the test, like more and more people, I'm just like, oh, now they're gonna find more stuff that we don't know about. Oh no, there's more work coming.
My team's also improving tooling as well, making sure the health of the content is, and the world we're building is the best it can be.
Ultimately, these steps between now and Alpha 4.0 and the continuing work beyond are only made possible by the support of fellow developer and tech preview tester alike. And it's these efforts that keep the teams moving forward towards these difficult but attainable milestones.
Has everybody...
The next tech preview test I would like to see, and I think all of us can agree, and all backers, server meshing, jump to Pyro. That's what I would like to see. I don't know if it's going to happen. All I can do is cross my fingers and hope it does, because this is the big test. This has to come to fruition, because 4.0 is going to be a very big milestone for Star Citizen. Once that happens, then we will start to see what we've all been waiting for: a new system and the capital ships. Once the capital ships come in, the jumps, there are going to be a lot of jumps to the new system. There are going to be a lot of things, more to do, more gameplay loops are coming. So it's something that takes time, and I get it. But people are ready. And people are ready for 24 to drop and try out the new things that are coming. Last time they tried that one jump would take the entire population. Yep, it did. And they said that in this ISC. But with that, it's still progress. So this last server meshing test was only in Stanton. I'm ready to see the next server meshing test, and I want to make the jump from Stanton to Pyro. That's what I'm hoping for in this next server meshing test. Yeah, every little bit helps. So the more people that are involved with it, the more you will see quite a few things. I mean, it's exciting, but you still have to keep your expectations at a minimum, because if you just make them too high, you will get burned. You will get burned. So keep them at a minimum, and let's just make the next step.
Been a point in the last 5 years where you lost faith?
At Cox Mobile, we know there's a better way to save. That's why we run.
No.
Really?
No, yeah, no. No, I mean, there have been some, it's been a bit rocky at times, but I never lost faith because I believe in the tech.
I don't think we could have done this anywhere else. Nowhere else would have the patience to really develop this kind of tech on the promise of something that might happen.
I don't think there is another game company on the planet that can do what we're doing. We can take risks to produce amazing technologies that other game companies simply can't take. I'm pretty...
And you also have to remember that they're under no pressure from a publisher. If they were under pressure from a publisher, we wouldn't have what we have now. It would be a lot of loading screens, it would be this, it would be that, it would not be what SC has become. So that's how I see it, that's how I look at it. I would rather have this set up where I can enter the atmosphere on a planet or moon and land than a cut screen landing for me. And I think we all can agree on that. It's something that gives SC the ambiance and the immersion that a lot of people are looking for. It's just taking time. So we're all waiting for 24. We're waiting for 4.0. We're waiting for 1.0. But the next thing that needs to come also is some more news on Squadron 42, and hopefully a release date that comes with CitizenCon. I don't know if that's going to come to fruition, but we'll see. All we can do is wait.
I'm convinced that this couldn't be done anywhere else.
Might sound like we're really confident with how well Tech Preview has been going, because we are, but we're honestly amazed at how smoothly a lot of this has gone. Always room for improvement, of course, and there's always things that we wish had gone better. But by and large, we're really impressed with the maturity of the tech so early on, how well it performed under really heavy load in a real environment.
And you're absolutely right, Kinzer. They've been really quiet and really in the dark for a long time, and it is good to see them on camera.
This is an incredibly exciting time for me. I personally have been working on this for almost 10 years. All the little bits and pieces that we've been doing have all been leading up to this. This year's been fantastic in actually seeing a lot of it all come together, and you know, the jigsaw puzzle's virtually complete now. There's just the last few pieces to put in. It's just been amazing to actually see all this work, all this effort that we've put in actually come together, and to be able to put it in the hands of our backers and, you know, get their feedback and, you know, have them experience what this could mean for the game. It's amazing.
Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 will be the first time a server mesh consisting of multiple DGSs with many territories and even multiple star systems makes its way to the live game environment. This represents an enormous step forward towards our goal of making Star Citizen into a massive, seamless, persistent universe. After 4.0, we'll continue to push this first version of server meshing, gradually increasing the number of DGSs within the mesh and the number of players this technology can immediately support. But to fully unlock the potential of the work being done, beyond that, we'll pursue dynamic server meshing, where the distribution of players and entities that get streamed in on the DGSs are managed according to server load.
You say cherish the gameplay we have now because SC will never be like this again. You're absolutely right. Once server meshing comes into it, and we've got the other system, and everything is going to change with the server meshing, it's going to make a big difference. The game is not going to be the same, period. A lot of things are going to change, and like I say, me for one, being a backer and only being in the game for a certain amount of time, it has been an experience and it has been a joy. A lot of people, and like I say, recently I've become frustrated with the performance. I play every day, and I still see things that are frustrating. And I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people that are frustrated with it. But I persevere and try to do some things, and sometimes I will just call it and step away for a couple hours and then come back to it. But there are some that have taken months. There are some that have taken years to get away from it. We'll see what happens when 4.0 comes out. I don't expect it to be absolutely smooth. When I did do this, the tech preview test, the next day after the first run, and I went to Orison, and Orison is always giving me issues. And Orison loaded. Once it was loaded and everything was going good, it was very smooth. The transitions were smooth. Everything was working, and also the elevators were working without me having to wait for it and things like that. It was amazing. So it's coming, it's working. We'll see what happens. We just have to keep the expectations at a minimum. So this is pretty much the end of this. So with that, I'm going to go into the patch notes. Do you think there will be much specialization? Specialization in gameplay roles? Gameplay leaps? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, with now this is just my thought. There's been with the new cargo hauling missions. There was they were having problems with them yesterday with the completing one of the missions. So there was no leak information or anything like that. But later on in the day, there was some leak information. Now, this is leaks, but it says hauling missions are under the hauling tab in contracts. It says you will require a ship that can carry at least 6 SCU, as missions will have you carry about 6 to 10 crates worth of cargo to another location. So it's pretty much a starting. And I think at some point in time, when resource management and things like that do come, I think specialization for certain jobs and things like that will come about. That's my thought, though. Because I know when I do it, I'm going to be able to do every job on the ship because I will be, running it. And each person will probably have a specialized thing. Um, in the org, you'll probably have specialized cargo haulers, you have specialized engineers, you probably have specialized ground soldiers and things of that nature. I mean, that only makes sense. So that's how I see it, and we'll go from there. But with this cargo hauling, it says you go into your instanced hangar, and the cargo will be available on the cargo elevator screen, neatly indicated as part of the specific contract, even mentioning the name of the contract itself. You load your cargo onto the ship and take it to the destination. Once all cargo is unloaded, put into the warehouse of the location, put cargo in elevator and send it down like you would store items normally. Cargo vanishes and counts towards the completion progress. Yeah, hopefully everyone who's playing right now should be able to learn to run a ship. Now the rewards are calculated based on percentage of cargo successfully delivered. Failing to complete the mission within a 5-hour time frame will mark all remaining cargo as stolen. So you have 5 hours to do a cargo mission in the game. Server error plus reset will auto abandon the contract. Through notably, cargo yet to be retrieved from the cargo elevator is not marked as stolen, meaning it's still legal to sell. That's a good amount of time. Oh yeah. Then using a tractor beam on a contract cargo will now tell you that the cargo is part of a contract on the UI section. That also tells you what it is, weight of tractored object. Hangars now visibly have 2 layers of doors to fly your ship through. Potentially one part of the spaceport's model and one belonging to the hangar itself. Normally no impact because they open at the exact same time, but of course evil users can experience only one layer of doors opening, meaning we are trapped. Sounds like they're taking cargo gaming seriously. Yeah. So that's just this part of it. Then this was the testing feedback. They took the hover trolleys out due to some knock-on issues. There were some things that were fixed, and the big thing from this was they actually fixed the loss system for the SRV and salvage. So now you can actually do what you need with the SRV. The SRV is now a viable ship to have in the game. So we'll see how that goes. That's all we can do is wait. But I am waiting for this to drop to the PTU so I can get in there, see what's going on with it, and go from there. Once it drops, hopefully wave 1. Yeah, the SRV is now viable. They actually gave it its freedom to do what it needs to do. And also salvage ships. You will not get a crime stat. Okay? It is no longer illegal to tow ships outside of green zones with the law system update. So it's no longer illegal to damage, destroy, tow, scrape, or structurally salvage an unowned vehicle. So all the junk that is laying around in the servers, okay, in the verse, is now able to be towed and salvaged. So we'll see. But those are the patch notes. Like I say, I can't get in there yet. I'm not Evocati, and once I accomplish that goal, I will be able to speak on it more. So the next and last part of this podcast is about Jump Point Magazine. This, I'm going down to this about the Ironclad. The behind the scenes. This ship caused a lot of controversy when it was introduced. As you know, there's two variants. There's a civilian variant and there's a military variant, combat variant. So, from what I'm seeing, they did a lot of variations to the ship, and there may be more variants coming. So this is a version A. Okay? And it looks really good, so I'm gonna go full screen with it. So the different versions of this, and also, wait, there's a B version, a C. Wow. I didn't get a really good chance to look at this, and those are a lot of versions of what they were doing with this ship. And Like I say, I will be purchasing one, but I won't be doing it until later. Um, because the what you get for a loaner is a caterpillar, and I already have one in game. So when I do get this one, I will put it towards. I will get the caterpillar as a loaner. This ship is huge, and some of the things that they actually did with this ship. Um, I'm going to say I can see a lot of gameplay loops coming into this ship, especially with the military version because of the crafting and the engineering and things of that nature. They put a lot of detail into this ship. I mean, with the detachable cargo module and things of that nature. How's the ship armor wise? Which one? The civilian version is not going to be that armored, but the military version is the assault version. So there's your decks. I mean, this ship is very, very intricate compared to some of the others. I mean, I can only say that the other ship that's the assault version is going to have a lot more armor on it, you know. I find that this is going to be a very, very valuable ship at some point. But definitely one to gather and purchase. This is one Drake ship that I see having a very valuable purpose to, especially the military version, the assault version, because it will have the crafting, the repair area, and things of that nature. So it's all going to make a big difference. It depends on what type of game loop you're going to be doing. And this ship could set up as a forward base, the military version, so you'll be able to have vehicles and things like that, where the cargo version is going to be bringing your supplies and stuff like that, and it also could bring vehicles as well. But your assault version is going to have the repair station. I mean, this ship has a lot of detail. A lot of detail. And I find it to be an interesting ship, and I will get one, but I'm in no rush for it. So we'll see when it comes. But it's going to be an interesting ship. Interesting ship to fly and do some work with. It's beautifully done. Beautiful. It's a beautiful ship for what it is. It's a monster. It's a monster of a ship. Like I say, it's going to be a massive ship to get off a planet. So we'll see how that works out. and then that's it. So, in conclusion, this ship, and I'm very particular about certain ships that I purchase or get. I recommend for people that are going to be doing a lot of cargo, a lot of transporting of vehicles and things like that. This is going to be a very valuable ship for you. And I recommend this ship as a purchase. I'm not, like I say, I'm not much of a Drake ship fan. I have some reservations about some of the Drake ships, as you well know. But this is a good ship, and is definitely worth a purchase. So, just my thoughts. And that's it for the Snowbirds meeting room. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for viewing and stopping by, and thank you for the likes. Everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. And I will be in game, checking out some things, getting ready for the week, and going from there. Everybody, have a wonderful Sunday. Take care.